Hello and welcome to another Eumonics education brief. Today we're going to talk about how to get value out of the Eumonics platform and help guide your investment decisions. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start by talking about a few things you might start with. So if you're someone who is more experienced or you have a hunch or just a curiosity about a certain stock or group of stocks, you could go into our screen library here, indicated by this button up here, and search for those stocks by their ticker symbol, and then look at some trend screens based on that, and perhaps create trend maps from that data. Or if you're starting out not really knowing and you want some guidance, you can come into the opportunity finder and say, you know what, show me what is very interesting right now with volatility or with last value of a stock or a change, anything like that. So we're going to start today. We're just going to do opportunity finder, and I'm just going to show you an example. You come in here and you might say, okay, let's look at our call option yield in the last value and see what ranks the highest right now. So right now Gap is ranking the highest. I know from experience, I looked at this earlier, this actually doesn't, and by the way, having a large last value or a large amount of stock volatility index is high doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equate to a good investment opportunity. So I know for a fact that Gap isn't. But basically, the process is you come in here, look at any one of these, even looking at, for instance, bear or bull. You might come in and say, okay, well, there's some interesting information there. Or you might come into bull and say, oh, here's some interesting information right here, right? So it just depends on what your interests are, or the stock optimism index. You might come in here and look at that and say, okay, well, what am I ranking here that looks interesting? 76% here for these guys. It's interesting. 50% again for Gap. General Electric. So there's interesting data wherever you want to start. But we're going to go ahead and start, though, because I already know I've created a trend screen and a trend map. So I'm going to go ahead and show you I did a trend screen for Akamai, and actually I'll jump back out here and show you my trend screen. So with Akamai, I have a trend screen right here that I created that I have tweaked and turned it into 100% positive outcome accuracy. And based on the filtered information here, dealing with stock call option volatility index, call option rate or price, and yields for put options, we're estimating that by the end of the month, you're going to see a rise of about 1% here. So if you look at the high and the low, or the open rather, for this, and this is where it opened in the beginning of this month in November, is 105. And right now, Akamai is at 112. So that's a huge jump. And had this been something that you looked at and said, this looks like an investment opportunity, I might actually invest a little and see what happens. So far, anyways, that would have borne out to be quite a return. And of course, it's not the end of the month yet. It's only the 24th. So there's still opportunities for things to go sideways. But right now, unless something crazy happens, it seems like you're easily going to make your 1% objective here, where you're saying that, hey, look, greater than 1%. So we're saying that in a month, we're estimating that where it started, which in the beginning month was 105, that it will rise 1% by the end of the month. And it looks like right now it's well beyond that. And so, what you can then do is look at other trend screens that are related to this trend screen. And you might be tempted to say, okay, well, let's take a look at other trend screens in the tech sector. And that's exactly what I did. So when you do that, you can create a trend map. So, and I'll just demonstrate that very quickly. So if you were to come in here and look for Akamai, um, and we'll go by dataset code, which is ticker symbol, and we'll look at Akamai, which I happen to know the symbol is AKAM, and we'll hit the right screen here, and there we go. So you might select several of these, and you see this button down here appears when you select them. Now if you click this, it'll create a trend map based on these 4 trend screens. Now I'm not going to do that because I already have a trend map set up for Akamai with other tech stocks in it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now that I've sort of shown you how to create one, and I've shown you how to search for value, the opportunity finder, and then find it through the screen library. Let's look at the tech trend map that I created. So in this trend map, I put in companies like Microsoft, Adobe, Amazon, Qualcomm, Intel, Cisco, Salesforce, Akamai, of course. And I put them in here so that I could examine to see if there's, using the exact same analysis that I used on with Akamai, I want to see if any of these other trend event screens provide any potential value. So let's start with Amazon. That one's pretty high already. It's at 75%. So we're going to click in here, and what happens is these are all the trend screens, of course, within the trend map. And the reason this is nice is that within a trend map, you can look at all the value across a month and see the predicted outcomes for those, whether they be positive or negative. So, and also over here, you can easily see the positive outcome accuracy for these. So I'm going to jump into Amazon, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Amazon and we're going to update that. Again, using a lot of the same things we've seen for the exact same thing we saw for Akamai. So we're going to go up top here, and we're going to start looking for false positives, because that's really, we're looking for false positives starting with software call option volatility index. And then if that doesn't give us what we're looking for, we'll continue on to the call option and put option filters here to see what we can learn there. But I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. And I'm just going to go, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. We're going to go across the top here, and we're going to look for not a solid green circle, but an outline green circle. That is what the only thing we're interested in at this point, and that is a false positive. So from this top row here for the SCVX, we're going to go ahead and scroll between November 2021 as far as we need to, possibly out to even to March 2014. But we're going to look for false positives. Again, that green outline, not the solid green. We're going to see what we come up with. So far, no false positives. There's a false positive right there. And this says it's 140. So let's change this to be 141 then up here and see what we get. Wow, look at that. Our journey is done. We now have 100%. There are no false positives at all in this entire series now. So first thing I want to do is save this because it's valuable information. And I'm going to use the same name. It's going to save it right in my trend map. So when we look at the trend map, again, for tech, the tech sector here that I created, you'll see that Amazon's now 100%. And so I'll do one more, but basically the idea would be is that when you bring all these others in to your trend map that have used from the library the same methodologies to find something of value, for instance, with Akamai, you want to then turn around and look at these others and see if you can tweak those. And again, the objective filter, for this to be valuable in the trend map, the objective filters all have to be the same, which they are. You know, the filters you're using have to be the same. You just have to tweak them, and that's what they are. That's what we're doing. So we'll go in and we'll look at, you know what, I'll do Intel since that's even lower. That's 50%. So let's dive into the trend screen for Intel. And again, we're going to start with SCVX, and we're going to look for that green, and right away we get it right here. So green circle, that's a false positive. So we're at 124. So let's change this to be 146. We'll say 147. Okay, that didn't do much. It eliminated that one. So let's keep looking. Actually, hold on. Let's see what else we get for, oh, here's another couple. Okay, this one's even higher, 239 and 196. So we'll go with 240. Wow, look at that. We're done, 100%. Now, I'm not going to promise you it'll be this easy every time you do it, because sometimes, depending on the event screen, it can be, the trend screen can be quite complicated. So you'd have to go through a lot of these through a process of elimination to find that value you're looking for. But it's essentially the same process. You're going through, you're looking at these, you're looking for false positives. You're eliminating them until you come up with something of value. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And so now we've got several that are at 100%. See how easy this is? It's really the power of point, click, no. It's just going in there, pointing, finding, searching, all things that you can do with a point and a click, and then learning the value that's there. That's the no part, using with a little bit of knowledge, not a lot, you gain a lot of knowledge. So point, click, no. Yes, so we're in here, Intel, 100%. So now, we started with 3. I think now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 that are at 100% positive outcome accuracy. So that's really the power behind doing that there. And, you would continue on with the others, of course, doing the same thing and to get to 100%. And then once you have all these at 100%, you can look at the various months and take a look at to see, what the patterns look like, what you see as far as false positives and negatives, and which months came predicted one way and came out another, and how many did that happen to, and how many companies, and in this sector. So you kind of look at that, and you could make a decision based on one of these with this. But if you have several, and you know a lot about this particular market sector rather, then that could be helpful. But the other thing you can do, obviously, is you can take a bunch of different conditions and create a trend map and make all your trend screens all, for instance, Akamai. So you might have 10 or 12 trend screens that are all Akamai, looking at different filters and features that you can use to create unique analyses of Akamai, and then compare those across the board and see what you're getting against each other month over month for going back all the way to 2014, I believe. And you can probably get value out of that as well. So I hope this has been helpful. This has been another Eumonics education brief, and look forward to seeing you again in the near future.